Ladies and gentlemen, foes and fans, friends and fudders, welcome once again to Shy Speaks SHIB. This is episode number 5. I'm your host, Shytoshi, and as always, I just want to take the Most High God for allowing me to have this moment with you today. We're going to talk about something interesting. Now, for those of you who've been following the podcast, you know that I've been starting each episode, big picture, really large ideas about the world, history, all the things that I really am passionate about. And today we're going to go and begin to talk about development, and what that means. And I have with me a fantastic guest, joining us, John Doe. Thanks for being here, John Doe, once again. Appreciate you. How are you?
I'm good, Shy. Thanks for having me on the podcast. I guess I've never been on any other podcast ever.
My pleasure. It is truly my pleasure. So, we'll have some fun. Don't worry. Don't be nervous. So, when I have these podcasts, I talk about like the big picture stuff. I'm a big picture type of person, to my advantage and sometimes to my detriment. And we've spoken about culture. We've spoken about, history, and a lot about what it takes to actually build a nation state or a culture around certain ideas and the amount of time it takes. We've seen this obviously over a myriad of centuries where certain leading cultures or certain leading groups develop into empires. And how exactly does that take place? Well, some would say a lot of it has to do with luck, and I agree. Some would say it has a lot to do with culture, which we've spoken about. Yes, I would agree there as well. But I think at its core, what a location or culture develops is extremely important. And we can see some evidence of this, for instance, in the Mesoamerican cultures, specifically places like Mexico. If you go back to the earliest of times, it is stated that they are one of the first cultures to develop agriculture. And the idea of having agriculture versus a nomadic lifestyle where you're constantly moving and on a search for food, but instead building a current and permanent population in a location where you can develop this agriculture. And also they were utilizing high quality aqueducts as well to cultivate various forms of food. Essentially, corn was a big one, maize was a big staple, quinoa, etc. in the Andes, became extremely important because it allowed the culture to flourish. And that's really what good development is all about. It's about producing a product or a series of products that allow the culture around or the situation around the culture or nation or location or group to flourish. Again, doesn't always have to be something as we would think simple as food, but obviously growing food is not as simple as many people think. A lot of it would depend on climate. But in certain cultures, it's something simple as pottery, for instance. Or if you go back to ancient Egypt, or Kemet, as it was known, there was a large culture around information, the sharing of information, the proliferation of information, obviously the Hermetic sciences, which I'm a big fan of. And a lot of these pieces of information that became the foundation of that culture for centuries to come. And many would argue the foundation of a lot of cultures even today, but most would know it. So when you can produce a system of products or a system of developments that can outlive your culture, they can begin to influence other cultures. Obviously, we know this is the case Now you'll know something that's quite interesting. Notice something that's quite interesting between these two that I've mentioned. Both have pyramids, which is also quite interesting because there is the Hundredth Monkey Theory, which I am quite intrigued by, and I'll explain what it is in just a moment. But you have two different cultures in two different places in the world producing two very similar products. And there are multiple explanations of how this is possible. But the two best explanations I can come up with that I've seen, obviously one would be aliens, and that aliens came and, helped these cultures that weren't as wise as we think develop advanced technologies to develop huge pyramids that required large amounts of moving of blocks and all these different things, and ironically on the same latitude. But although it is quite mysterious, I don't believe that is necessarily the case in every situation, maybe in this one. What makes more sense is the Hundredth Monkey Theory. Now, the Hundredth Monkey Theory is quite interesting. What it states is that, or what happened, because this is an actual observable experiment that took place on an island. Don't ask me which one, and don't ask me when. I believe this is about 100 years ago, where researchers were observing an island, and on that island, monkeys would wash potatoes, but only a few of them, because they realized potatoes just taste better if they're washed. And at first, only a few monkeys were washing their potatoes, but eventually the idea of washing a potato spread to the other side of the island where there was no contact. So no one was teaching this idea to wash a potato. It just became part of what we now say is, well, in this case, monkey consciousness, but human consciousness is how we usually define consciousness incorrectly. So with this theory in place, it makes sense how certain ideas happen to blossom worldwide at the same time. I also believe that the energy of the universe at the time, or the energy on this planet from the universe, influences what ideas come or when ideas come, right? So there's that aspect as well. But I'm going to leave that aspect out just for a little bit. I'm just dealing with the human consciousness and the ability for these ideas or certain ideas to be proliferated outside of a particular culture. This is why you see a lot of the same technologies or same ideas happen at the same time. And of course, even with the Hundredth Monkey Theory, there was the first monkey to get it. So you also have advancements where one person will have a brilliant idea that just makes sense because of where everything is at the time. All of this ties specifically to development. In developing countries, you will find innovations because of situations. Everybody, as you know, states necessity is the mother of invention. So when you take this idea of culture, when you take this idea of community, okay, it doesn't matter if it's a human community or an animal community, and you take the idea of, when a good idea has its moment or as its time, it's inevitable. You have to begin to question what is inevitably going to be developed. This is a big question when you really take a moment and think about it. What is inevitably going to be developed where you have a situation where AI can almost produce anything we can think of? Definitely can as it pertains to pictures and videos, which wasn't possible 2 years ago, right? It definitely can as it pertains to speeding up development times so that a single individual can produce almost its own billion-dollar company. Almost there. When you have Web3 as a foundational framework to support this new world that is moving forward, where does this all lead? Now, from a global standpoint, there's all types of answers to this question. Or we don't know, Terminator, blah, 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 right? All this stuff is possible. Agreed, it's possible. But from our perspective about SHIB, if you take the viewpoint that SHIB is a nation state, its own culture, its own community, then what is the inevitable outcome? And the answer to that question is what we're talking about today. The inevitable outcome of us developing such a strong operating system for the future is the development of more and more advanced technologies, more and more technologies to help people develop things, more and more technologies for DeFi, for AI, more and more ways for you to have fun in gaming, more and more ways for you to ideally make money in this world of crypto, as we call it in some ways incorrectly at this point, and more ways to decentralize the world, which is where this is all going in my humble opinion. And when you really think about it, doesn't matter if it's the Hundredth Monkey Theory. It doesn't matter if it's two cultures on two sides of the world doing something similar. It doesn't matter if it's now, tomorrow, a month from now, a year from now. We are going to live in a completely different world than anyone can imagine because of what you, as a developer, as a person, as a user, as a gamer, as a, I don't know, meme lord, whatever word you want to call yourself, can do. And our job in this situation is very simple. Our job is to support. So, all that being said, John Doe, let's talk about how we are supporting the development of this Shiba state, this Shiba nation, and how we are going to move forward into the next years to come. And once again, thank you for being here. So, John Doe, let's talk about it. What do we have coming down the pipeline? I know we've done some new cool stuff for the developers and they're really excited. So tell me about it. Tell us, our listeners, about what we've been doing.
Good. I like your, idea about the pyramid built by aliens and all. As much as I love it, I would like to think like this is actually built by intelligence humans brick by brick. So keeping that in mind, what we should be supporting, we should be as a team that supports the whole ecosystem. What we should be doing is give a platform for developers to come, ask questions, get it answered, get as much as support that they can get. So we didn't have such an open platform up until this point, even though we had Discord where all the users were there. We had a Telegram channel called Shibarium Tech where all the users were discussing about everything, but we never had like a dedicated developer channel. So recently we created a dedicated tech-only discussion Telegram channel where developers can come and ask questions of like, I'm doing this thing, I have this blocker, how do I implement it? I'm trying to build something like this, I want to discuss about it. Who else can support? I've seen not just the SHIB.io developers, other developers also give opinions, give ideas of how to approach that and all those kinds of things. So this new Telegram channel that we have built, which in like 1 or 2 weeks, you're already seeing like 300 members joining and actively discussing about projects. Especially if you go to the brainstorm topic on the Telegram, that's a gem of a place. People are like discussing about all kinds of ideas. That's what we did in last 2 weeks. We are supporting as much as we can, trying to solve as many problems as we can at a time. This, I'm hoping over a long period of time, will be a place where everyone, like a Stack Overflow kind of place, but for our ecosystem, where everyone come and ask questions and get it answered and help each other and build crazy, amazing stuff. That's what I'm hoping this to be at some point.
John, that's fantastic. I do want to clarify, because you're right. I don't technically believe that the pyramids were built by aliens. I actually hold a slightly different belief that there are no aliens as the way we've been taught. They're all interdimensional beings, which is what most UFO researchers come to after years research. And I believe that the advanced technologies used therein are either through higher power beings that are helping humans or just simply humans, because humans are way, way smarter than they've been given credit, especially those when you go back to 3,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, maybe. We don't know what types of technologies they really had in place, but we see that they had advanced technologies. And the ability for us to now have even something close is really astonishing, and it's powerful. And I think that's what this is all about, right? The ability for our current people, right, on this planet to begin to develop these next level things that'll ideally, right, bring the world to a state of true, long lasting peace. One of the things that always surprised me the most, like the more and more I go down every single rabbit hole till I got to the bottom and went, oh, okay, cool. That was a couple rabbit hole. I can't get out of this. Is like everything that we need to have a world of peace, we have already. There's more than enough food for everyone. There's more than enough water for everyone. If you want to talk about money, there's more than enough money for everyone. It's not a problem of we don't have it. It's a problem of we actually just choose not to do it. And that's a problem, right? And now, and I guess before, it was something where we didn't have a choice. It's kind of like you have no choice. You will use A or B. And just so you think you have a choice, here's C. But now there's D, E, F, G, H, I, and we have an app that can tell you how to build J all the way through to Z, right? There's an AI that can teach you anything you could possibly want to build. You can turn any idea into something powerful, and anyone can do it. That's a whole different level. And it's something that if you're somebody who's like way in control, and, you know, your livelihood and the livelihood of the next 4 generations depends on something that was built 100, 200 years ago, it's a problem, right? Like it's a huge problem. So to hear that, like we are, and I'm so glad that it's happening here in SHIB because we have so much of a unique, history and ethos, but it's so good to see it happening everywhere in Web3 and even outside of Web3 as well. AI is not necessarily inside Web3, but it's happening here as well. And that's when you know that some sort of big change is truly, again, inevitable. And that's kind of funny, isn't it? Like, that, like you would think that Web3 and crypto and memes are just kind of cute and funny and fun. But at the end of the day, it is the one hope that a lot of people in the world have, including myself, that we could have a whole new world when this is all over. So to hear that we have 300 devs inside of a room talking and brainstorming about what can happen next and how this can be built is so incredibly inspiring. And, you know, the best part about it is we're at a point now when we can bring a lot of these developers onto this platform and discuss. We just had
exactly.
on the first, right, and talking about what they want to do, which is really based on charity, and their idea of what a meme really is about. But I'm looking forward to having these more technical discussions about what is being built and how it's only going to take one really good idea, especially in SHIB, one really good app that will blow this whole thing open. And I don't know who's going to build it, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to an app that's so incredibly unique, so incredibly useful, and so undeniably necessary that I need to download it the moment I hear about it. And I haven't seen that yet. I haven't seen something that's so mind blowing that I'm just like, I have to have that on my phone. I have to have this right now. Right. And that I think is what everyone is kind of looking for in all of Web3. What is that super killer app? And sometimes we get apps that are kind of like that through other different chains, or it's like, if you want to get 100x or 1000x or 10,000x, use this app. Okay. Yeah, sure, bro. I'll give it a shot. Oh, my money's gone. Right. But like, what's that app that's like GPT is one of those type of things, right? Where it's an app that everybody just realizes that you need it. Like you don't want to be the guy that doesn't have it. Right. The disadvantage of not having a certain piece of tech when the rest of the world has it if it's that mind blowing, it's undeniable. And we've seen this happen, when you think about it, in certain moments in history. When you think about the invention of the smartphone, when it first kind of was presented, everyone went, "Oh, that's kind of cool. It's a phone with a screen." Huh. But no one knew what that would mean 5 or 10 years later, where it's like now, if you don't have a smartphone at this point, you're either choosing not to because you're trying to detox from the negative sides of it, or you're way behind in almost every regard, or you're in a place where you don't need it. Like you really absolutely don't need it. You live in a off the grid. You're completely happy with your life. And it's not a necessity, right? Or it's something that you can't afford. And there are people who are helping that situation as well. So where does that, can that happen in Web3? This is an opinionated question I'm asking you, John Doe. Do you think that there could be a Web3 app that's so killer that everybody realizes that they need it?
I'm hoping that something like that would happen, right? And I can only hope. There are a lot of people disagreeing about a lot of things, and you're super active on social media. And if you look at all these discussions right now, everything or everyone is trying to make a version of what is already existing. Genuine ideas are very less out there. Like someone would have built something amazing, and then people start building a different, a slightly changed version of it. A lot of people are building a lot of things like that. I'm hoping, somewhere in a dorm room or somewhere, a few friends are sitting together and discussing about that great idea, which may be a simple, straightforward app, or maybe a whole website that have a lot more features. But I'm really hoping someone's actually thinking about it right now. I'm hoping they would come and join our group and build it on Shibarium.
I completely agree. The ability for people to have something as strong as Shibarium with such a low cost transaction fee is really powerful, right? Because if you have that idea, and if you're listening to this podcast, take a look at Shibarium and think about it, because not only do you get the power of Shibarium, you get all these other technologies and supportive frameworks as well, right? And I guess we should talk a little bit about that. The whole SHIB dev idea. We have various APIs and things like that. Can you share some more about that? Because this is how, if I have that killer idea, and trust me, I'm full of ideas, right? Sometimes I hit a wall and I'm like, I have this idea. It's great. And I usually call Kyle. I'm like, Kyle, I have an idea. Here's the idea. And it's funny. I have that idea in my mind. I actually went through with GPT and I said, how do I solve this world problem? And they said, oh, all you need to do is this. And I'm like, let's do it. And I just hit a brick. I hit a wall, boom, you can't do it yet because there's this issue or this regulatory problem or this doesn't exist yet. And I'm like, darn.
Yeah.
But knowing that most of what is necessary to build the killer app or the game-changing idea is something that we offer, I'd love to hear it so that we can explain it to somebody who may have that same idea or the next idea, the next big thing, as they say.
Yeah, let me talk about that. But you reminded me about the gas fee as well. What is the average gas fee at this point? It's too great. It's as low as that. It's so cheap. So if you want to come and build on Shibarium, this is the time. It's so cheap that you can do whatever you want, and for a whole day, you will still not spend $1. So it's as cheap. So yeah, now going back to ShibDev, ShibDev or what we call as developer portal is there's one portal where we are trying to bring all the SDKs that we are currently building, all the APIs that we're currently building, one place that everyone can come and look at things and start building that. So what you said, someone with an amazing idea and that they want to build it on any chain. Let's say Shibarium as example. The first thing that you need is obviously you need an RPC to connect to the blockchain and then interact with the blockchain. It's okay. You can go get the public RPC, or you might need a private RPC with more with almost no rate limits, or like, you can interact much faster. You can send more requests. You can extract more data from blockchain, all those kinds of things. So that point is when you actually come to like the developer portal. You can come here, create your own project, get your own API key. And now with that API key, you have your own private RPC. At this point, it's absolutely free also. So you can just come grab your RPC URL, and then you can start building on that. So once you have the RPC URL, it's like you can use it in any SDKs, like the Shibarium SDKs or other SDKs that you're using. Anywhere you need this API key and RPC, so you can use that, interact with the blockchain, send data, extract data, and we have on-chain data API available. You can use that. You have transactions API available right now, balances API available right now, and we are working on more stuff as we are talking. I know I'm getting Slack chats on the background right now because people are building amazing stuff, as we are talking. So everything that we're building will come to this SHIB Dev portal, and can just come here, get your API key, start integrating. To quickly list what we have. We have the RPC endpoint that I already said. We have the transactions and balance APIs that I said, which more APIs are coming in. And as a developer, and as a new developer, the first thing that you need is you need a faucet, because you will be working on the testnet and you need some bonds to interact with the blockchain. And you don't, oh shit, where do I get the bond? Can just send your, just click a button and you will get some bond on your, wallet. And then you can use that bond to interact with the blockchain for a whole day. So the faucet is right there on the developer portal. You just use it, get your bond and start building. And as and when all the SDKs are available, those will be, listed there as well. The Auth SDK, the Paymaster, all those things that we are building right now, the account abstraction things, everything will be right there. Some of them are already out there. More things will come. So anything that a developer needs is there.
I love your excitement, Joe. I love it because I can tell how much you really love this and like all of the things that we have and what we built, and the fact that we finally get to a point where we can share with the community so they can really start building with Shibarium. And, one of the things that I find quite interesting, and this is something that in this process of developing SHIB into what it is now, I've come into quite a myriad of new understandings. And one of them is, hey, that's great, right? But if I'm a major corporation or government and I'm talking about implementing this for 10 million people, Shibarium is not going to cut it, right? Because I can't have a day where the cost 1,000 X's. So it is $1 a day now for me, or $10 a day, or $5 a day, right? I just can't afford that if I'm a airplane provider, or airline, or if I'm a business. So instantly we realize we need a new partner that can really help us even scale beyond Shibarium, which is a mind-boggling situation when you have a blockchain that's in 1.1 billion transactions, right?
Yeah.
So what we ended up realizing is that we need these roll-ups. We need the alpha layer. And I want to talk a little bit about this before we go and talk about how this works. And I've spoken about the alpha layer before in an earlier podcast with Wiz. And I wanted to kind of nail into this because it's an interesting situation where finally, if I have a brand, for instance, and I want my own chain, I want my own blockchain, and I don't want to use Shibarium, I still can and still get all the robust additional features that come with Shibarium, with SHIB. And the operating system of the future that we built, SHIBOS, which includes things like identity and payments and karma, reputation, all these various things that really help me as a developing brand or company, enterprise or government scale well beyond even what Shibarium can do. And in doing so, move Shibarium to the layer that takes all the information and then moves it into Ethereum, giving Shibarium another use case. I love this concept because I know that it's a blocker that a lot of companies run into, and rightfully so, right? Like, not everybody's like Sony. Like, I'm just gonna make my own blockchain. Sony can do that. Billions of dollars, right? They're producing tons of games. They're gonna need it. But if I'm a small mom and pop shop and I realize I want to have my own chain, but I don't want to spend the cost to develop my own chain, then something like this, having my own rollup, makes sense, right? And can you kind of maybe explain about that? So maybe I'm not developing the next big app. Maybe I just kind of want my own chain and I want my own branding associated with it without it having to be SHIB branded, without it have to be on Shibarium. I don't want to say that it's on Shibarium. I want to say it's on my chain, right? How does that work? What exactly do we have coming down that pipeline very soon?
Great question. So, that's exactly what rollup is. So, but when we say rollup, I've seen a lot of people who are new to Web3 and who are just hearing about what is the blockchain and everything. And when we say them like, hey, there is this rollup concept that we're working on, they're like, what is a rollup? What is this? So this fancy name sometimes don't explain to the people really well. It's just another blockchain. It's as simple as that. It's just another blockchain, which is much more flexible than an already existing blockchain, conventional blockchain. That's what a rollup is. A very simple definition is it's another blockchain that you have more control over. It's your own blockchain. So, as you said, people who want to have their own blockchain and they might look like, oh, Ethereum is there, Shibarium is there, and these are like, yeah, these have been here for a very long time. It needs a lot of money for me to run all this, and it takes a lot of time for me to build this. But to be honest, do you know how many minutes it would take right now for us to launch a rollup? I think that's 30 minutes. You press the button and it's 30 minutes.
What?
It's up and running your own blockchain, and you have your own API's URL, and you can connect to it and you can interact. And it's happening right now behind the scene. Like, it's not public, of course, but that's all it takes. 30 minutes, you will have your own chain. So
wow,
yeah,
30 minutes and I have are you serious? And
yeah,
that's it's epic because having with 30 minutes, having my own chain without having to spend what would take, months and months of development and worrying about all these things, or years, which it took to really understand, blockchain years ago. But hey, boom, 30 minutes, I have my own chain. It's branded for me. And now I can utilize it and still get all the additional features like FHE is next level. And I just love that SHIB is building this next level type of infrastructure and thinking next level, because as we stated earlier in this podcast, right, this is how the next big thing gets built. This is how the little guy, as so many people love to call people who are, disadvantaged and trying to build with very little, just like I was most of my life, now has a shot. I can have my own chain. I can then produce my own X or Y. I can have my own DeFi. I can do something super fast without a lot of huge costs. And that's when we're going to see true innovation take place. And why not have it take place right here with SHIB? So ultra exciting. And I love the simplicity of that, right? Because when you hear rollout or roll up, you get confusing. What does that even mean? I don't understand L2. No, you want your own blockchain, bro? Press this button.
That's all is needed. You don't want to know about everything about blockchain, but as a developer, of course you need to know what's happening and all. But in general, you don't have to know the building blocks of a blockchain. How do I set it up? You don't have to know that. And if you are a developer who have been developing contracts or dApps on top of any EVM chain, our rollups are no different. You are at home. You know exactly what you're doing. The contract that you have once deployed on Shibarium, if you want to deploy the same contract on one of the rollups, I think you will have to make like one line change and then you can deploy it. Like there will be whole stage. That's it.
Wow. This is exciting. And I'm so excited to hear these things. Again, nobody has something like this when you include all the other features like FAG. It just doesn't exist. And it's so powerful like that we have it. And I love in our own unique way, I feel like we are like completely underestimated. I agree. SHIB it's a meme, bro. And it's like, huh. And that's okay. That's okay. It's okay because it is a meme, right? And it's okay to stay in that level of understanding if that's where you want to live. But if you want to actually DYOR, take, I don't know, man, like 2-3 hours, listen to all these podcasts, you'll realize what we have and how it's such a game changer to the entire world. And, John, I feel good after this podcast. I hope all the devs out here understand. Do me a small favor. Let's give some links on where people can go if they want to build on SHIB. I guess SHIB.io is where to start, right?
SHIB.io is the place for everything. SHIB.io is the main hub. You can find everything. But if you want to specifically go to the developer portal, it's dev.shib.io, dev.shib.io.
dev.shib.io.
And if you want to read more, the docs, like the docs section, it's docs.shib.io. docs.shib.io. Go there, you'll find everything. And I'm writing more and more every day. So you'll see more, not just me, Wes is writing, everyone, the developer team is actively writing more, documentation and more easy tutorials and everything. So it will be there. You go to the docs, you will know what you need. And if you still can't find, come and ask, on the Telegram and we will definitely answer for you.
Fantastic. John, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast today and kind of going deeper into how development can happen if you have an idea and it's a low cost way to get started into building something awesome. And for sharing your time and your energy with us, on this podcast. And I don't know how we got on the topic of aliens, but maybe I'll do just a podcast just on aliens. But right now, it's all about human development, not alien development. And if you're a dev out there, you know where to start. SHIB.io to find out where to go next, and how we can help you build on Shibarium or to build your own chain as we begin to roll out the alpha layer and all of the fantastic technological developments and advancements that we've been building over the last, seems like forever, years. And I think that concludes our podcast for today. It is always a pleasure. John, thanks for being here.
Any final
words you want to say?
Come and build. That's all I have to say.
That's what I'm talking about. Look, we're here and we're really excited to have you, listener, with us. We will see you next time as we begin to learn more about who and what is building on Shibarium, more about the frameworks and the foundational elements therein, and how you can be a part of this revolution that we are starting for decentralization and a better world for literally all of us. Until then, take care, be safe, and we will talk to you soon. Until then.